console her mother and ensure her that all will be well taken care of. That's a great story. It's a wonderful story. So without further ado, will everybody give Mr. Valentino a warm welcome?
Amen, amen. Thank you, Short College. I appreciate the time to speak with you. I see some stand alumni in the house, so my respects for that as well. One thing I know, no one wants to talk about life insurance because it's a dreary subject, and sometimes it kind of gets passed, and then a lot of times people don't think about it until they're well into their 40s and 50s, and then by that time it's too expensive, or they have all kind of health conditions going on, and they don't know what do they do from there. And so I didn't know exactly how the forum was going to go. I didn't know if we were going to do Q&A. So I had some questions and answers for you that most people that I've met over my time of doing life insurance, the same questions that they have had as well. And one of the first things is why life insurance? A lot of times, I hear a lot of young people say that, why do I need life insurance? I'm young, this and that. Well, if you just look at the media right now, you see what's going on. So, and I know this is a God-based college, so tomorrow's not promised anyway. But we have life insurance because I was joking with one family, I said, a gentleman, he makes funny money and he doesn't need life insurance. And I said, well, you think your wife is just gonna throw you in the backyard, when you die? And he's like, oh, I don't care what they do with me, And I said, no, it's not gonna happen like that. And so we have life insurance, not necessarily for you, but for the people that are after you. Especially if you have young kids, if you're married, and so people don't have to take on that financial burden if something were to happen to you and Jesus calls you home before your time. So that's the reason why we have life insurance. I know a lot of you may have seen GoFundMe pages, just like I have, where people don't have coverage and the family can't support funeral expenses, because the average funeral is about $8,000 to $12,000. And that's just at the base level. But a lot of times when people have that time when they have a lost loved one, the funeral homes, they're in it to make money. It's a business like anything else. So they can say, oh, well, mama wanted the gold trim roses. Mama wanted the cushion. I want mama to have the best. So at that time of loss, you're not thinking straight. You're just thinking, oh, I want mama, brother, sister, whoever to have the best. So an $8,000 funeral arrangement could turn into $15,000. And so that's why I say have life insurance in place. You take somebody with you that's level-headed, and that way they can make the decisions that you can. The second thing is, a lot of times people come with the question of, do I do term insurance? You probably heard that term. Or do I do whole life? And what's the difference? Okay, so we're gonna break it down. Term insurance is usually for a certain period of time. So you have 10-year terms, 20-year terms, you have 30-year terms. Some insurance companies, and I don't want to berate anyone or the other, some insurance companies, they like to offer term insurance. The good thing about term insurance, it doesn't cost much. It's like $13, $14 a month. You can get $50,000, $75,000. The bad thing about term insurance is that after that term runs out, what are you going to do? Because there's two sides to that. Now, if you say you're going to get term insurance because you plan on getting your money up, and by the time 20 years come in, you plan on doubling your salary, what you're making now, so that way you don't need that extra money to cover your expenses, term is the way to go. But you still need a base policy for funeral expenses. So the bad thing about term, I had a gentleman that I went to, and he had a term policy. He said he got it when he was 30 years old. He paid $13 for $100,000 in coverage, which was great. I can't touch that with nothing. But now he's 60, he's about to retire, and so he has an option to renew, but now if he renews it, that same term policy that he had for $13 a month is now gonna be $138 a month. Ooh. And so for him, it's like, hey, I can't afford that, but then I won't have no coverage to bury him. 30 years. Now a lot of times people think, oh, I may not live for that long, but what if you do? Then now you're stuck in another financial situation and you can't do anything about it. So term is good. Like I said, if you plan on getting your money up, if you have a financial plan in place and okay, I plan on doing better, term is a good way to get extra coverage, to cover the house, cover the car, if the kids are young, it's good to have term. Whole insurance covers you if anything happens. for the life of you. So when you have whole life insurance, or some of them call it universal life, it covers you regardless of whatever happens, and you have it for the remainder of your life. Some people say, what is accidental? That's another thing that insurance companies, they put to people, oh, you get accidental and we cover you this, or you may see you get free accidental coverage with your bank, statements or whatever. Accidental is just what it says. It covers you if there's an accident. It's great as far as, if you travel a lot, if you plan on, doing a lot of different things, but it's accidental, so you gotta remember that, because a lot of times people say, oh, I'm covered, I got life insurance, but what if you have a heart condition? What if you have something that happens in the hospital room and you die of either heart failure or stroke or whatever else? Well, all they're gonna look at is like, well, they didn't have life insurance, they had accidental. And a lot of times people think they're covered under accidental and they're not. And then the family is left in a whole disarray because of that. Once again, accidental is just like term. It's good if you got a base policy in place. Accidental, you get that if you travel a lot, or just driving to Little Rock sometimes, you never know what can happen. So if you have accidental, then hey, that's a good coverage for your family, because then it gives you more bang for your buck, so to speak. So it gives you more coverage instead of getting a whole policy. So that's another thing with whole policies, is that people say, I'm gonna get $100,000, I'm gonna get $50,000. Well, whole policy is gonna be more money in the long run. The more you get, the more it's gonna be, okay? So that's why you get a base one just to cover you, put you in the ground, and then you get term or you get accidental to cover the excess. So when all else fails, financially or whatever else, at least they'll be able to bury you and nobody has to deal with that financial hardship. So it says, another one, how much is it? What's the cost? How much coverage do I get? Well, it depends. A lot of times people say, well, I'm only 18, my parents covered me, I don't have to get it. Well, that's good if your parents continue to plan on covering you. Or, well, I don't know, I'm still young, I don't need to get life insurance right now. If someone depends on you financially, I don't care if you're 16 or 21 or whatever, if you have a child, if someone depends on you financially, you need to have life insurance. So how much do you get? It depends on what your assets are. Do you own a house? Do you have a lot of bills left over? Do you have something that, let's say you got a child that's underage, you want to make sure for that first year that they're taken care of. For the older ones, if you have a family and you're married or whatever, if you pass, you want to at least have enough life insurance to cover that first year income. So if you make $20,000 a year, if you make $30,000, whatever, you want to have a life insurance policy that covers your income for at least a year. Because that way, if something happens, your spouse has at least a year income to where, even though they have to deal with your loss, that the bills are still being taken care of, financially everything's being taken care of, and within that year span, they're pretty much good to go. And then it says what kind of coverage. The kind of coverage, like I said, depends on term or whole, depends on what you want to do. And then it says, when should I get it? Well, if you have a job, you're making an income on a regular basis, you need to get life insurance. Most jobs, they have policies where they have it worked into the plan. It's always good to get signed up. You don't need a big policy, 5,000, 7,000, anything that you can get is gonna help, whoever, if something were to happen. And then, last but not least, it says, when should I get it? You just get it whenever, it's possible for you. And so, like I said, I've seen a lot of families deal with losses, and it's easy to, when mom or dad, somebody's mom or dad passed when they're in the 70s or 80s, it's easy to deal with that because it's expected. But when someone loses a child, it's a whole different, scenario. And so, the mom, surprisingly, she was at ease. She knew she was covered, everything was good to go. And I was still in shock about her. Are you okay? Is everything all right? And she said, yeah, I'm good. And a lot of times when we talk about, like I said, we talk about life insurance, we think, oh man, let's talk about life insurance, somebody's gonna pass tomorrow. No, we need to get out of that mindset. It's just taking care of your family. It's just putting your priorities in order. And that's all it is. And my job is to educate people on it You know, not, you don't have to get it from me, you'll get it from XYZ insurance company. But the thing is, getting something in place and being educated on what you're getting. A lot of times people have policies and they don't know what they have. And they're paying money out every month, and it's like, I talked to one person, they had, you know, over 100,000 in life insurance, but they didn't have any kids, they weren't married. I said, you're overinsured. I said, why are you paying this for? She said, well, I guess I can give it to my mom or whatever. I said, no. I said, you're overinsured. So you gotta make sure, if you educate yourself, when you know better, you do better. Educate yourself so that way you know, hey, I only need this much. Or, hey, I just bought a house, I want my husband, my wife, if someone happened to be left with that, I need to have this much coverage to cover the house. Or I want to make sure that, you know, when my kids turn 18 or 21, that they have enough to cover them for that year if something happened to me. So educate yourself on what the ideal, you know, life insurance policy is for, and then when you know better, you do better. You know, you'll learn from it.